in one of her failures. The inability to get open shots for your star. Create open shots for your superstar. The other thing we're going to talk about is Cooper Flagg and where he currently sees Caitlin Clark in the hierarchy of all-time WNBA players. Let's go with Sue Bird first. Right here. So, WNBA legend Sue Bird was in attendance for the game against the...
Recent discussions in basketball circles have centered around two rising stars from different leagues. The conversation involves feedback from a retired WNBA legend regarding Caitlin Clark's current situation with the Indiana Fever, alongside commentary from incoming NBA rookie Cooper Flagg about Clark's position in women's basketball history. The legendary Seattle Storm point guard Sue Bird has voiced concerns about how Clark's teammates and coaching staff are utilizing the young star's talents. According to Bird's observations, Clark appears to be carrying too heavy a burden on offense, constantly creating opportunities for others while struggling to receive the same assistance in return.
Sue Bird on the physicality of the WNBA. Listen to this, guys.
I just want to talk a little bit about the physicality of the league. There's so much conversation about it. Is it too physical? Is it not? All these things. And I think there's been this, narrative that's gone around that we, and I'm going to include myself here, we as WNBA players talk about the physicality in our league with like a badge of honor, right? And I don't think that's the case at all. I personally don't feel that way.
During Clark's recent performance against Seattle, Bird noticed a significant issue that could be limiting the rookie's effectiveness. The veteran player emphasized that Clark would benefit tremendously from having teammates who could generate scoring chances for her, rather than always being the primary creator. This observation comes as Clark continues to experience difficulties with her shooting, particularly from beyond the arc when playing away from home.
Seattle Storm. The former Storm great was able to pick up on something that might be holding Clark back and is causing her to work really hard on the offensive floor. It's been holding her back. I mean, she's getting no favors done by her coach or her teammates when it comes to being able to get an open look. I mean, it's just not happening. Quote, I got to watch Caitlin play in person in Seattle, and one
Bird's analysis suggests that incorporating players like Ari McDonald into more prominent roles could provide the solution Clark needs. The idea involves using McDonald's playmaking abilities to create better scoring opportunities for Clark, whether through direct assists or by running plays that free up the star guard for cleaner looks. This approach could help alleviate some of the pressure on Clark to constantly manufacture her own shots while also setting up teammates.
But when challenged about the physicality of the league and the historical physicality of the league, yes, we say, yes, this is a physical league. Like, yeah, it's a grown woman's league. Like, yeah, you got to be ready for it. And the only reason why I want to bring that up is because while it's true that we have defended the physicality, it's not true that it's because we want it to be that way or like it that way. I think for a really long time, it's something we've talked about. Let's do ref the game.
The criticism extends to current coaching strategies, with questions being raised about whether the coaching staff is maximizing Clark's potential. Some observers note that previous coaching decisions seemed more effective at creating favorable situations for the star player, suggesting that current tactical approaches may not be optimal for showcasing Clark's abilities.
thing I noticed was it would be really beneficial for her if she had players around her who could create shots for her. Bird said on her podcast, Bird's Eye View, she has to create a lot of her own shots, but she's also creating for her teammates. And there are times where if she could just get some open looks off of other people's play, it would really be beneficial to her. That's where Ari McDonald.
Meanwhile, Cooper Flagg, the recently selected top pick in the NBA draft by Dallas, shared his perspective on basketball greatness during his introductory media session. When asked to name his most admired players from both leagues, Flagg selected Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant for the men's game. His choices sparked debate about whether other legendary figures like Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Magic Johnson, or Tim Duncan might deserve consideration for such elite company.
And allow physicality, we're kind of just playing in it. And of course, what refs allow, you're going to take. And that's really what you're seeing in our game. I would argue that most players don't want it to be this physical. I was the first one with my hand up when I was playing. Do you think I wanted it to be physical? Then you've never seen me play. No, I did not want it to be physical. You know, I got to watch Caitlin play in person. It'd be really beneficial to her if she had players around her who could create shots for her, right? She has to create a lot of her own.
For women's basketball, Flagg initially mentioned Candace Parker, Brittany Griner, and Asia Wilson before adding Clark to his list. His inclusion of Clark came with specific reasoning about her transformative impact on the sport's popularity and visibility. Flagg expressed admiration for how Clark has elevated women's basketball and attracted new audiences to the game. The young NBA prospect demonstrated his genuine interest in women's basketball by attending a Fever game where he spoke about the significance of the league's growth and his intention to continue following the sport. His comments reflected appreciation for the progress women's basketball has made and his excitement about its future direction.
Donald might have some impact. I've thought the same thing. You know, you get Ari at point guard and maybe let Caitlin Clark do some shooting guard and, you know, allow Ari McDonald to find Caitlin Clark. Or even if Caitlin's the point guard, she comes down, throws the ball to Ari McDonald, and then they figure out a way to create a shot off of that back to Clark. It would greatly assist.
Flagg's recognition of Clark's influence highlights an interesting dynamic within basketball communities. While players from other sports and leagues readily acknowledge Clark's contributions to women's basketball's growth, some suggest that recognition from within the WNBA itself has been less forthcoming. This observation points to potential tensions regarding credit and recognition within the league.
Shots, but she's also creating for her teammates. And there are times where if she could just get some open looks off other people's play, it could be really beneficial to her. And that's where Ari McDonald might have some impact. You know, I got to watch Caitlin through. I said this to multiple owners. I said this in competition meetings. I never understood why in a 40-minute basketball game, we got 6 personal fouls. And a lot of times I was met with, well, we don't want our star player.
The contrast between external praise and internal acknowledgement raises questions about competitive dynamics and professional relationships within women's basketball. Some analysts suggest that jealousy or reluctance to share spotlight may be preventing full appreciation of Clark's impact from her own peers and competitors. Clark's influence on viewership and fan engagement has been undeniable, with attendance and television ratings showing significant increases since her arrival in the professional ranks. Her ability to draw new fans to the sport, including high-profile athletes like Flagg, demonstrates the broader appeal she has generated.
Clark, we know she's in this massive shooting slump. All right, she had 6 points, 3 of 13 from the field in the Fever's victory over the Storm. On the road this season, she has gone a stunning 1 and 28 from three-point land. Bird's insights might be something Fever coach Stephanie White will want to focus on. You shouldn't have to say that. I can say this. Christy Sides at times did a
The discussion around draft processes and competitive balance also emerged, with speculation about whether certain outcomes might be influenced by factors beyond pure chance. These conversations reflect ongoing debates about fairness and transparency in professional sports selection processes. Looking ahead, both Clark and Flagg represent the future faces of their respective leagues. Clark has already established herself as a central figure in women's basketball, while Flagg enters the NBA with expectations of becoming a franchise cornerstone for years to come. Their parallel rises to prominence illustrate the evolving landscape of professional basketball.
Players fouling out. And just to give a little bit of context, the 6 fouls is definitely like not a hangover, but we got it from the NBA game, right? But they play 48 minutes, so it makes sense. We play with 5 fouls overseas. We play with 5 fouls in college. We play with 5 fouls in national team play with USA Basketball. So this isn't 5 fouls in 40 minutes. This isn't something new. And like I said, I was always met with, well, we don't want our star players fouling out. But by my math, by giving every player.
The situation surrounding Clark's current playing conditions suggests that maximizing star players' effectiveness requires careful consideration of supporting cast and strategic deployment. Bird's insights emphasize the importance of creating systems that enhance rather than burdening exceptional talents. As both players continue their professional journeys, their impact extends beyond individual performance statistics. They represent generational talents whose influence shapes not only their team's fortunes but also their sport's broader cultural significance and fan engagement levels.
Fairly good job of getting Caitlin Clark some open shots last year. Uh, Stephanie White just not doing it. I don't get it. She acts like Caitlin Clark's just another player. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. Cooper Flagg. So, during his introductory press conference after being selected first overall by the Dallas Mavericks on Wednesday night, the Duke
Sue Bird has been making frequent public statements recently, particularly addressing the intense physical nature of women's professional basketball. The league's rough style of play has become a major talking point, with veteran players often displaying their battle scars and injuries as evidence of the sport's demanding nature. Players like Natasha Cloud have openly shown missing teeth and other physical damage sustained during games. A social media user named Mike suggested that Bird should take over from Kathy Engelbert as WNBA commissioner, noting her playing experience, business acumen, and widespread respect within the basketball community. While her ownership stake would need resolution, many believe her insights could benefit the league's direction.
On a roster, that one extra personal foul, you're allowing your best player to get fouled.
This is who actually retweeted this, where I found it at. She stated, "Get Kathy out of here. The job is too big for her now. This isn't normal." Ref complaints. Win or loss, there is genuine incompetence with WNBA referees. The team, players, fans have been complaining about Kathy not effing embarrassed watching this display night after night.
Bird recently discussed the league's aggressive playing style in detail. She clarified misconceptions about how current and former players view the physical aspects of women's basketball. Many assume that WNBA athletes embrace the rough play as a point of pride, but Bird disputes this characterization. While players do acknowledge and defend the league's physical nature when questioned, this doesn't mean they prefer or want such intense contact.
Product was asked what players are on his NBA and WNBA Mount Rushmore. All right. Cooper Flagg rattled off Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and Kobe Bryant as his top picks for the NBA. That's not bad. I don't know that I'd have LeBron on there. I mean, I might go Shaq. God, people sleep. People do not realize how great Hakeem Olajuwon.
According to Bird, players have adapted to officiating standards that permit significant physical contact. When referees allow certain levels of aggression, players naturally adjust their approach to match what's permitted. Bird personally never wanted the game to be overly physical during her career, noting that fans who watched her play style would understand this perspective. Regarding Caitlin Clark specifically, Bird observed her gameplay firsthand and believes Clark would benefit greatly from teammates who could create scoring opportunities for her. Currently, Clark generates most of her own shots while also setting up plays for others. Having additional playmakers like Kelsey Mitchell could provide Clark with more open looks and reduce her offensive burden.
Now, this is what was said. So a difference of opinion. Is there a problem? Players and coaches obviously think so. But Kathy isn't so alarmed about basketball in general. It's considered difficult to officiate given all the athletic bodies moving in a confined space, particularly around the basket. Now, Kathy went on to say this: there's always room for growth and improvement in officiating. Yeah, you kind of got a point there.
Bird raised concerns about the foul system in WNBA games. She questioned why players receive 6 personal fouls in a 40-minute game, especially since this rule originated from NBA standards for 48-minute contests. Other basketball levels, including overseas leagues, college basketball, and USA national team play, operate with 5 fouls in comparable timeframes. When Bird previously suggested reducing to 5 fouls, league officials worried about star players fouling out. However, Bird argues that the current system actually allows more fouls against star players by giving everyone extra personal fouls to use. The officiating quality has drawn sharp criticism from various sources. One vocal critic stated that Engelbert should be removed from her position, claiming the job has become too challenging for her leadership. This isn't merely typical referee complaints that occur after losses. There appears to be genuine incompetence among WNBA officials that affects game outcomes regardless of which team wins or loses. The display has become embarrassing for fans, players, and coaches who witness these issues repeatedly.
He was all Tim Duncan's another one, so, but all in all, not a terrible list. Not a terrible. I mean, Larry Michael, you know what? I would have Magic Johnson instead of LeBron James on there. And then I'd have to start talking about Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan in that area right there. For the women's game, he had Candace Parker, Brittany Griner. Wow.
Engelbert responded by acknowledging that basketball officiating presents inherent challenges due to athletic bodies moving rapidly in confined spaces, particularly near the basket area. She emphasized that officiating always has room for improvement and growth. However, critics argue that the WNBA's problems exceed those found in other professional leagues. The NBA doesn't experience similar widespread officiating controversies. The poor officiating has reached the level of mockery, with missed calls significantly altering game results. Engelbert made additional comments suggesting that winning teams never complain about referees while losing teams always do, which many found dismissive and inappropriate given the severity of the issues.
But your league is worse than any other damn league. Like the NBA don't have these refereeing problems like y'all do, bro. I mean, this is bad. It's a mockery. Half of the calls that don't get called. It's literally altering freaking games. She went on to say, I do find it interesting when you sit in a chair I sit in that no winning team ever complains about officiating. No losing team ever doesn't complain about officiating. Bro,
International criticism has emerged, with fans from other countries also calling out the commissioner's handling of these problems. The global basketball community has taken notice of the WNBA's officiating standards, creating an international embarrassment for the league. Some observers believe the poor officiating isn't accidental incompetence, but rather intentional sabotage to keep the WNBA as a niche product rather than allowing it to grow into mainstream success. They argue that Engelbert's background as CEO of a smaller company hasn't prepared her for managing a league with growing visibility and expectations. The accountability issue extends beyond just the commissioner to the referees themselves. Major changes need implementation to address these systemic problems. Until significant action occurs, the league will continue facing these challenges, and leadership must confront these issues directly rather than making excuses.